So the other day I posted a video and I was asking you to play a very specific rhythm over a specific chord change. And that rhythm was this. So quarter note, 2/8 notes, quarter note, 2/8 notes, slightly swung. And I refer to it as a Cajun saw. And somebody in the comments later was like, oh, isn't that just a shuffle? Which I think they were referring to shuffle bowing. And I was like, absolutely, yes. A lot of people call that shuffle bowing. There's other names that people have as well for that. And it just got me to thinking how it's interesting that you can have the same thing that you're playing musically and will have different names depending on where you're from, maybe how you grew up taking lessons, the style of music that you play. Same thing, different term. The first time I heard the expression shuffle bowing or double shuffle, which is just like what I call double bowing. And huckum bowing is another term for that. The first time I heard those terms was when I was older and I was hanging around with fiddle players from the United States. In Canada, I had never heard those terms when I was taking lessons. So I was in the room and I hear somebody use that term and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what you're talking about. And now I feel like I have no idea what's going on. Until they played it and then I was like, oh, there it is. Okay, I understand what that is. So I want to know, where are you from? I realize this page is not, is very new and it's not global yet. But I would love, if we can share this around, I would just love to get a response on what do you call those bowing patterns? Do you have a name for it? And what is that name and where are you from? And I think we'll notice that it could vary wildly because there's, depending on where you're from, the same thing can have a different name. I find that that happens in the traditional world versus the classical world. Also, very different terminology for a lot of the same things. What I think of as call and response, I might refer to as tonal memory. When I'm breaking down rhythms, I might want to break it down 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and over here they might be like, no, it's tachydermy, 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 tachydermy. It doesn't really matter what you call it as long as you know what it is and you can use it, as far as I'm concerned. So don't be intimidated when you're in a room and somebody uses a term you don't know. It could be that you do know what they're talking about and you just have to wait it out for a second, listen, and be like, oh yeah, I do know what that is. I just call it something different. Now maybe it is something new to you, and then if that's the case, ask questions. You should always ask questions. But I just found it interesting, and I'd really be curious to know what you guys call those bow patterns. One thing I found really interesting when it comes to shuffle bowing or double shuffle, when I think of the term shuffle, and maybe that's because I am used to playing in bands, so I'm used to playing with other musicians that are not fiddle players. When I think of a shuffle, then that's a very different thing. I think of Stevie Ray Vaughan playing Cold Shot, right? That to me is a shuffle. So it's just kind of cool to hear these different terms, and I just would love to know where you're from, what you call it. There's no wrong answer there. If you have a name for it, what do you call it? I'd love to know.